Now, start of part 2. Remember this? What I'm going to do is, I want you to put your attention on the slide. So I'm going to switch off my video. Okay. And all of you can switch off your video and minimize the gallery. So our gallery is just one line. All right. Now, okay, we covered Araham, Samma Sambuddho, Vija Charana Sampano, and Sugato. So now we're going to look at the next one is Lokavidu. All right. Lokavidu means the Buddha is the knower of the world. What world? The outer world and the inner world. Let's start with the outer world. Familiar? These are the realm of existence. It consists of 11 realms. This is called the Kamaloka, the sensuous world, right? In which experience is dominated by the 5 senses. Now, when the suttas mention states of deprivation, apaya, or about beings passed away and reappearing in a bad destination, we are referring to, well, realm number 1 and realm number 4. The others from 5 all the way to 11, 6 to 11 are called the lower heavens. They are considered favorable destinations. And this will include the human realm, right? Okay, because from 5 to 11, you're able to learn the Dharma, you're able to transcend suffering. Over here, from number 1 to 4, not easy. In fact, almost impossible, especially when you're in the hell and the animal realm. Okay, really depends on whether there are people to share merits with you. Okay, here we go on to the form world. The form world is called Rupa Loka. There are 16 realms over here altogether. Those who have attained the Rupa Jhanas and who habitually abide in the 4 sublime states are generally reborn in these realms. That means if habitually your mind is always between good and pure, it's sublime. Upon death, that being your habitual karma, you go to the higher heavens. Here, the beings here apparently have very refined bodies of pure light and experience refined forms of mental pleasures. Light, the mind is very light. Here is also the higher heavens, Rupaloka. Over here, realms 23 and 27 are called the pure abodes. It is only accessible to non-returners or anagamis. That means those who have attained the 3rd stage of enlightenment. That means no more greed, no more hatred. And then you have realm number 28 to number 31. And those who normally have attained what you call the formless jhanas are generally reborn here. Okay, here not so good because it's formless. That means you don't have a form. So what exists is just your consciousness. But then again, this is not Dhamma. You're still in samsara, which means it's very difficult to practice the Dhamma here. Okay. When did all this begin? Because, MC?
Because this samsara is without discoverable beginning. At first, a first point is not discerned of beings roaming and wandering unhindered by ignorance and fettered by craving.
As sentient beings need a place to survive in, we can refer that the universe has no discernible or discoverable beginnings as well. We saw right last week in the section on Vija Charana Sampano that the Buddha saw eons of world expansion and eons of world contraction, which means that the world evolves, dissolves, and re-evolves again and again. And as the world continues in this way, there is nothing to indicate the final destruction of the universe, of apocalypse. Now, the Buddha saw countless world systems, and he said that within these world systems are thousands of suns and thousands of moons. He also described a black, gloomy darkness between world systems, which we now define as the black hole, right? And because the universe, with all its galaxies, operates according to the law of cause and effect, like all conditioned things, it exists due to natural causes, not supernatural ones. It's not created by a God. All right? MC?
And even in those abysmal interspaces of vacancy, gloom, and utter darkness, where the moon and the sun, mighty and powerful as they are, cannot make their light prevail.
All right, here the Buddha is talking about the black hole. So, how does the Buddha answer when asked about the origin of the world? Okay. MC? Mm.
And what bhikkhus is the origin of the world? In dependence on the I and forms, I consciousness arises. The meeting of the three is contact.
Okay.
With
Continue. Yeah.
contact as condition, feeling comes to be. With feeling as condition, craving. With craving as condition, clinging. With clinging as condition, aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair come to be.
The Buddha always tell people who ask him about the beginning of the world, he says that's not important. You look at your inner world and know how feeling comes about, how clinging comes about, know about attachment, know the inner world. The internal world is the world of formations, according to Buddha. The seeing world, the hearing world, the smelling world, the tasting world, the touching world, and the thinking world. The Buddha understands how they arise and sees the impermanent and unsatisfactory nature of these worlds. He knows that these worlds do not have a self or a soul, and he knows how people can be trapped in them or can be free from them. Apart from the six sense bases, the Buddha also mentioned many other categories of conditioned things. These are just the more common ones, and they are all linked, so you can see a lot of overlaps. 5 aggregates, the 4 nutriments, the 8 worldly conditions, correct? In this world, the mundane world, aren't we all very caught up in gain, loss, fame, dishonor, praise and blame, pleasure and pain around the 8 worldly conditions? Here, the 18 elements, right? Now, the Buddha advised, right, that the outer world is one thing. You sort out your inner world as your own, and your suffering and your own happiness are not dependent on external, but on your own response. You must know your own inner world first. Okay, so now we understand what is lokavidu. Now, the Bhikkhu Bodhi explains that these 5 qualities are what the Buddha possesses within himself, which establishes his qualifications of being a great teacher, unsurpassed in wisdom and conduct. Now, the remaining 4 qualities represent the way the Buddha interacts with others, and therefore establishes him as the best person to teach and guide others. So next, we have the 6th epithet of Anuttaro Puriso Dharma Sarati. Now, the word Sarati actually means one with a chariot. It makes sense, right? Since it is very important for a charioteer must be able to tame and guide the horses pulling the chariot, especially in times of war. Together, this word means incomparable leader capable of taming others to be tamed. Now, we have seen examples of how the Buddha was able to use his spiritual powers to help others realize Dharma last week. I'm going to tell you another story of how the Buddha helped someone whom everyone gave up on. Chula Pantaka, he forgets things easily. He was so forgetful that in the 4 months as a monk, he could not even remember a single paragraph, even though he was very hardworking. This was because in one of his previous lives, Chula Pantaka was highly intelligent, but he often ridiculed and looked down on his dull classmate. So karma caught up on him. So in the present life, he was perceived as stupid and he was discriminated. And his brother was a monk. His brother actually expelled him from the monkhood because he was so stupid. The Buddha, with his divine eye, was aware of what happened and the reasons behind it, and intercepted to prevent him from leaving the order because the Buddha saw the potential in him. The Buddha created a piece of white cloth and gave it to Chula Pandaka. He told him to put up the cloth against the rising morning sun every morning and rub it with his hands. And at the same time, repeat the words, Rajo Haranam, meaning impurities, taking off impurities. After a while, the constant rubbing soiled the white cloth. Seeing this, Chula Pantaka came to realize the impermanent nature of all conditioned things, and eventually he continued the practice and became enlightened. MC? Now, the Buddha does not train every person he comes across. There are people who are just not ready for the Dhamma, even if the teacher is the Buddha. In one instance, Casey, the horse trainer, told the Buddha that if a horse to be tamed will not submit to discipline by any method, he would kill it. He then asked the Buddha how he disciplined a person to be tamed. And the Buddha said this. MC?
I discipline one kind of person gently, another kind sternly, and still another kind both gently and sternly. If a person to be tamed by me won't submit to be disciplined by any of these methods, then I kill him.
This is figuratively, not literally killing.
For this, Casey, is killing in the noble one's discipline. The Tathagata thinks one should not be spoken to and instructed, and one's wise fellow monks too think one should not be spoken to and instructed.
Right. Okay. So if you're not ready for the Dhamma, the Buddha will not bother. All right. Because we make our own choices. Now, the next epithet is Satta Deva Manusanam. Here is a definition. He is a teacher of gods and men. To know the extent of the Buddha's interaction with humans and devas, shall we all look at his daily schedule? In the morning session, the Buddha rises early. He takes care of his physical needs. Then he passes time sitting in seclusion until alms round, when he either goes alone or with the company of bhikkhus. After his meal, the Buddha gives his blessings to the donors and a short talk, where he instructs the donors in some aspects of the Dharma. And you know the bhikkhus need offerings to be able to survive. Upon his return to the monastery, he waits for his monks to finish their meal and then gives them a Dharma talk. Then he assigns them meditation subjects in accordance with their temperament. After that, he retires to his kuti, and if necessary, he lies down for a while, but always with mindfulness and clear comprehension. Then he passes the second part of the afternoon surveying the world to see if anyone needs his help. In the later part of the afternoon, the Buddha teaches the lay people who gather in the monastery, dispensing Dharma in a way that is commensurate with the aptitude and inclinations. Only on rare occasions does the Buddha resort to spiritual powers to effect a change of heart in his listeners. Listeners who are ready for enlightenment, the mind is ready because of past karma, just need a little push in the right direction. Night session. So in the first watch, that's from 6 to 10 p.m., the Buddha addresses his monks' requests by answering their questions, assigning them meditation subjects, or expounding Dharma to them. Then in the middle watch, celestial beings will approach the Buddha to ask whatever questions they have in their minds. Sometimes he will travel to the higher realms to dispense Dharma to a Deva who needs his help. And you can tell which are the discourses to Devas because very often, right, you can see this passage in the suttas. MC?
Now, when the night was far spent, a certain Deva of surpassing splendor came to the Buddha, respectfully saluted him, and stood at one side.
A lot of these discourses to the Devas you can find in the Samyutta Nikayas of the Pali Canon. There are a few famous suttas like this. First, remember the Mahamangala Sutta, which is the sutta on the great discourse on blessings, where the Buddha taught 38 auspiciousness which bring happiness in his life and lives to come. Okay? Happiness in this life and lives to come for the Devas. Then we have this sutta. All right. The Brahmani Mantanika Sutta, where the Buddha traveled to realm number 14 to correct a wrong view by Baka Brahma. Okay, there's the higher heavens, the Brahma world. A higher deity who held the eternalist view with regard to himself in this world, thinking that he will live forever. Okay, but you know, even Devas in samsara, you have a lifespan, you also can come down to the lower realms. Then you have this Sakkapanha Sutta, consisting of Sakka's questions about the source of conflict and hostility, about the path of practice that brings them to the end. Now, Sakka is the king of realm number 6 and 7. All right, the lower heavens. Devas, also like humans, develop faith in the Buddha by practicing his teachings. This picture familiar? This you can find on the internet quite easily. And this is a famous picture which shows the Buddha descending from the Tawa Timsa heaven, realm number 7, after spending time there teaching Devas the Dharma with his biological mother, Mahamaya, as the chief beneficiary of his teachings. Here in this picture is depicted that he was accompanied by two Dewa rulers, Sakka and Mahabrahma. Okay, Brahma, the Mahabrahma is from the higher heavens, the Brahma world. Then, evening to dawn hasn't ended yet. The Buddha divides the last watch to 4 parts. He spends the first part walking back and forth, and the second part resting. He spends the third part in the Nibbana bliss. And in the fourth part, he enters the meditative attainment of great compassion and surveys the world with the Buddha eye to see whether he could be of service to anyone. All right, so I do a summary. MC, ready to read?
Forenoon, 6 a.m. to 12 noon, rises early, sits in isolation until alms round, goes for alms either alone or with disciples, gives blessing and spiritual advice to alms givers. Afternoon, 12 noon to 6 p.m., dispenses Dharma and spiritual advice to monks, surveys the world, teaches Dharma to lay people. Night, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., 6 to 10 p.m., addresses requests by monks, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., answers questions by Devas and teaches them Dharma. 2 to 6 a.m., walks back and forth, rests and meditates, and surveys the world.
Now, the commentaries claim that the Buddha spends the morning sessions helping others. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if that is what he did, because he would never turn anyone away, especially for those who can be helped. Now, the Buddha can be considered the most energetic and active spiritual teacher that had ever lived. His life was one of selfless service to humans and devas. The Buddha only helped devas and humans simply because they are the only ones capable of realization, the Dhamma. That's what it means, Sata Deva Manusana. All right? His interaction with his disciples. Next, we go on to the eighth epithet, and that is Buddho. What does it mean? All right, some people, when they chant, they use the word Buddho. All right, the in breath is Bud, out breath is Do. And this method is actually sometimes taught by some bhikkhus in Thailand, because you need to still the mind is too busy. So you use the image of Buddha and you use words. So you use thought of Buddho. Now, the verbal root Bud means to know, to understand, to discern, and also to awaken. So one explanation of Buddho is based on the buddhi as a faculty of understanding. And the other explanation is based on vibuddhi, means awaken from the sleep of defilements. So this eighth epithet of the Buddha is usually rendered as the enlightened one or the awakened one. So you know what it means, Buddho. So this one is simple. We go on to Bhagawa. Bhagawa. It means the Blessed One. The ninth and the last epithet represents the Buddha as one who has fulfilled all the other qualities based on his great compassion for living beings. So to understand this quality better, you have to look at the problems, what the Buddha faced during his years of teachings. How many years did he teach? Tirelessly. Anyone? 45 years. We don't have a lot of time, so we will see only some aspects of just these three areas. Social prejudices he faced, threats from rival sects, and problems with the Sangha. Okay. First were the social prejudices the Buddha has to face, especially from Brahmins, the people from the highest priest caste. They ignored the Buddha, challenged him, and despised him because he was from a more inferior warrior, Katiwa caste, isn't it? Okay. Guys, do you all remember the disappearance of Buddhism? Okay, so I will just summarize a little bit here. Now, the Buddha rejected their devas, which is equivalent to the Bible or the Quran, right? And that naturally made the Brahmins very angry. See the top left picture, summarized for those who didn't attend the talk, disappearance of Buddhism from India. This picture shows the Buddha advising the Brahmins against animal sacrifice, which is part and parcel of Brahmanism. To please the gods, you must kill animals as sacrifice. Now, the social prejudice was so bad that many of the Brahmins believed that just the sight of Buddha brings them bad luck. All right. But because during that time, about 70 to 80% of Buddha's disciples were actually from the Brahmins class, because they were from the upper class and they were trained from young to seek spirituality. So can you imagine how many Brahmins joined the Buddha, and therefore Buddhism was the greatest competitor to Brahmanism at that time. So during the Buddha's time, there were many religious teachers and ascetics preaching their own doctrines. So as the Buddha's teachings, as I said, attracted more and more followers, they naturally became jealous and plotted to destroy him and the Sangha. Here are some of the more serious cases. The first one, you see, the Buddha was accused by Chincha, Manawika, that's her name, that actually Buddha made her pregnant. Then he was also framed for the murder of Sundari, a female disciple of another sect who herself was trying to collect evidence to discredit the Buddha. She was actually killed by her own teachers and buried close to Jetavana. Now, the Buddha was exonerated in the end, but these incidents no doubt hurt his credibility and reputation. And the most tragic of all was the murder of Moggallana, Venerable Moggallana, and all these in the name of rivalry, a competition for limited resources in the form of followers and financial support. Then there were problems actually within the Sangha, especially after the order grew and the Buddha decentralized the ordination of monks. All right, the Buddha couldn't handle, right? So you decentralize it so other monks are able to ordain disciples. Now, but the Buddha was able, you see, the first generation of the Sangha under the Buddha, of course, it was really good because the Buddha able to read minds, right? Able to see whether a person's ready or not. But when you decentralize, you will definitely attract a lot of people who come in, they're not ready, mind not tame, and basically for an easy life, right? As a monk at that time, you got free food, and somehow you don't get the right kind of people joining the Sangha. So there were naturally problems. Monks who lied, they were the noble ones because when you give alms to the noble ones, you earn more merits, right? Yeah, so they lied that they were enlightened. There were monks who molested nuns, monks who instigated another person to kill because he converted a guy's wife, instigated a person to kill himself. That means because he had desire, he couldn't deal with it. There's one who inadvertently poisoned a lady who wanted an abortion, and one who wanted to bait his ex-wife because she wanted an heir or a son. All kinds of problems. Huh? Why do you think there are so many rules in the Patimokkha? You can see here. So the monastic code of discipline was not established right from the start. These rules were introduced one by one when circumstances warranted it. But there were some problems that couldn't be covered by the Patimokkha. For example, there were monks who quit his order, then went around slandering the Buddha. There were monks who misinterpreted his teachings and then went around teaching the wrong Dharma to lay people. And monks who did contemplation of the loathsomeness of the body and then got so disgusted by their own bodies that they committed suicide. The Buddha faced a lot of problems during his 45 years of teachings. And lastly, right, there were also Devadatta, who attempted to usurp the leadership from the Buddha. Now, Devadatta did not succeed and therefore tried other ways to undermine his leadership and credibility. What he did was he instigated Ajatasattu, who is the the prince, right? The son of King Bimbisara, to take the throne from his father, because King Bimbisara was a very staunch disciple of the Buddha. So the king's son, Prince Ajatasattu, imprisoned his own father, tortured him, and later killed him. This way, the Buddha lost a very important royal patronage. Okay. The prince also hired mercenaries to try to kill the Buddha, but of course did not succeed because the Buddha, with his mind reading skills were able to prevent that. He also hurled a big stone down at the Buddha and injured the Buddha's foot, causing the Buddha great pain. Now, Devadatta also got an elephant drunk so the elephant could go on a rampage towards the Buddha. And the Devadatta also recommended more stringent rules to show everyone that he was a more serious practitioner than the Buddha. But the Buddha refused to implement these rules. But by then, Devadatta had caused a lot of damage because he had caused a schism in the Sangha. And all the infighting greatly demoralized the monks. Now, Devadatta was reborn in the Hell realm. Okay. Now, to go through what the Buddha went through during his 45-year ministry required not only great compassion, but also infinite patience and tolerance as well. As an arahant, brothers and sisters, the Buddha couldn't create any new karma, good or bad. So helping humankind did not earn him merits. He didn't need to teach and help others. And in the process of doing so, experience all the hardships that come with it. No, the Buddha could easily have retired in his hometown, right? And lived out his life in Nibbanic bliss. But he lived his life to help others gain enlightenment, was for one reason and one reason only. And what is that? Compassion. Itipiso Bhagawa Araham Samma Sambuddho Bija Charana Sampano Sugato Lokavidu Anutaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati Sata Dewa Manusanam Buddho Bhagavati. You have faith in him, but beginners will have greater faith in the Dhamma, the practice itself, all right? Or else you wouldn't be here. But when you see the Dhamma, what do you see? You see the Buddha. When you have practiced for some time and benefited from the practice, that is when your faith in the Buddha will gradually, definitely grow, along with your respect and your gratitude. And by that time, I hope you agree with what Ajahn Chah said to his new monk, to a new monk. This is what he said. If you really knew how to bow to the Buddha, you would have tears in your eyes. Okay, I'm going to stop share. Sorry, I'm a little bit emotional when I see that quote. I actually can feel the bodily and mental happiness.